Welcome to the Irish NFL Show's Week 10 game preview and pick show, brought to you by QuinnBet. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, X, and on IrishNFLShow.com. Watch us back on YouTube, or you can listen back to the podcast at your leisure. And hello to one and all, whether you're present with us in the moment this Thursday night or whether you're catching up with us later. It's La Decima, the 10th week of the season. We're past the halfway point now, and your team is either well in the mix, they're already toast, or they're toast, but you're still in denial and you think they're in the mix. Either way, there's a place for you here. Four teams that aren't involved in the Week 10 action at all are the Bengals, Cowboys, Titans, and Chiefs, all of them enjoying a bye this week. That means we've 14 games. Shane Brennan and Colin Cronin previewed the Thursday night football game between the Broncos and Raiders, a key AFC West clash in our TNF preview podcast. You can check that out on your platform of choice. The penultimate international game of the season takes place in Berlin this Sunday at 2:30. Shane and Ben Costello will be there for the Irish NFL Show, and they'll have an extended preview of that game dropping on Saturday morning. At least they better have an extended preview on Saturday morning, or else they'll be schlaps. They're not over in Germany just to get their kicks. They're there to put in some work. Anyway, 2:30 on Sunday. Shane and Ben there. Falcons at Colts. Kieran Boyle. Colts brought back down to earth last weekend. Falcons had a spicy enough clash against the Patriots, but came out the wrong side of it. This one could be pretty competitive.
Yeah, and you throw in the neutral factor. I mean, that kind of that puts up. It could be a pick 'em by the end of the by kickoff. So yeah, I mean, I think the Colts are. I think it was 5.5 point favorites when I looked earlier on today. But I mean, I think at this stage, I'll break down the Colts first. I think what we saw last week is, maybe a foreshadowing of what might be coming for Daniel Jones in the playoffs. I mean, Pittsburgh played it perfectly. I mean, Tomlin pulled out all his ace cards, and I mean, they had him. I mean, not to use a Darnold phrase, but they had him seeing ghosts out there. I mean, he had that kind of stare that Giants fans are used to seeing, that kind of confused 1,000-yard stare. I mean, the Steelers did everything. They threw in the cover 0 blitz. They threw in the cover 4.
And I know it's only one game, and we did give Tomlin plenty of heat, as did others, for the maybe staid nature of his defense in the previous two games, where people seem to have him figured out. The Bengals had them cooked, and the Packers tore them apart as well. But changes everything up. Plays Jalen Ramsey in that free safety role, where he's kind of quarterbacking the secondary. And as you say, Daniel Jones never seemed to be able to get a beat on what was happening.
Right, and especially the cover 4. I mean, they just play deep and just force him shallow, and he was struggling with that all day. I mean, sacked 5 times, 3 interceptions, 3 of which were fumbles. Just a rough day. We all know what happened to Jones last week. But like I said, that could be a foreshadowing of what's coming down the line. I mean, this is November now. This is, we're not in the kind of preseason September games where the shocks all over the place. This is, now we're getting down to real football, and the Falcons are going to, if they're going to step up at all, then this is going to be the game they're going to do it, because at 3-5, this is definitely the last chance to learn for them. Panics again. I mean, we don't know what to expect. I mean, but what concerns me is completion rate. It still hasn't moved above the 60% rate. He's really struggling throwing the ball downfield. Now you see him; he's whipping the ball all over the place. You saw it in the Pats game. You see it in almost every game. He's whipping the ball all over the place. But the accuracy, like we've talked about in the past, the inaccuracy is still there. I think his completion rate is lower than Mac Jones, or in that Mac Jones, Dylan Gabriel kind of area. It's just, you never know what you're going to get with him. He's got all the weapons. You scratch your head, like, why are they not using Bijan Robinson more? Yeah, I get that he's a Christian McCaffrey type, where he can do as much damage catching the ball as he can running it. But I mean, Bijan Robinson has to be the cornerstone of the offense for this team. I mean, you cannot rely on Penix. He still hasn't kind of shown that ability to settle down and be I'm not going to call him a pocket passer, because he never will be.
We need to see that big Penix energy.
Yeah, exactly. But we've got to see accuracy. I mean, it's great throwing the ball and spraying the ball all over the place, but if you're missing these guys, throwing behind them or throwing over them, then what's the point? But getting back to the Colts, I mean, I think we can all agree that was just a phenomenal performance by the Steelers D. And this Colts team right now is just in cruise control. Pittman Jr. and Pierce are doing great. We all know what Jonathan Taylor is doing. I think it's just going to be a factor where what they've basically been doing the first 7 or 8 weeks has been using a lot of Daniel Jones, throwing the ball, getting those big chunk plays, and even getting Warren in there too. And then the second half, as the game is not quite put to bed, that's when they bring out Taylor and they just run the other team to death. And I can see that happening again this weekend. I think it'll be a tight game first 3 quarters, but I don't think there's any way that the Colts are going to relinquish the 7-2 record and start showing cracks. They've already heard the whispers that Daniel Jones is going to crumble again against the bigger teams, of the more physical defenses, maybe the Ravens. That's coming down the line in January. But I don't see this as being a hiccup for the Colts. I think the Falcons are still, or the Jots as I call them, they're still too lightweight in certain areas. Decent in some areas on defense. Run defense, not great. Okay in the back four, but I can see the Colts coming out and winning this by, I think it's 5.5. I can see a touchdown win.
Brian, the Colts, as we were talking about on Wednesday at the trade deadline, mortgaged a good deal of their future to go all in. 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner, 2 first-round picks and A.D. Mitchell for Sauce Gardner, I should say. They are all in. If you're all in, you got to beat a team like the Falcons.
Yeah, you would imagine so. Like, they're heavy favourites going into this, Connor, and I do acknowledge and agree with Kieran to a certain extent. It does, like, it's an initial ground essentially on Sunday. You don't know how they're going to react to the trip. Some players have made that trip before, some haven't. I think the Falcons are in a state of flux. Like, despite the loss last weekend, I was reasonably impressed with them in the second half because they were down by 2 scores, and you're going to lose on Monday score. They found a way to come back, and that's not like the Falcons of old. And I know Kieran, tongue in cheek, kind of says they'll always be the Jets of the South, but I still think they're much better than the record kind of implies to this season. I will go Colts on Sunday. I think we will see a bit of a rebound. I don't think it's a slam dunk, as many may seem, and I don't think the odds that Quinn Bay have out there, it's 5.5 point favourite. Is there a fair reflection of a game which I think will come down to nip and tuck in the fourth quarter? But I'll lean Colts, but I'm not overly comfortable about it, to be honest.
Kieran O'Donovan, is this the Falcons or das Colts for you?
Das Colts. Bounce back.
Right, I'll go full house. It's das Colts for me too. In the 6 p.m. window, kicking us off, we have the Ravens traveling to Minnesota, newly emboldened with Lamar Jackson back at the helm to play the Vikings. Kieran O'Donovan worked out pretty well for them last week, where they were handy winners over the Dolphins and flexed what they can do. They need to keep winning if they're going to make the playoffs. Vikings, on the other hand, had J.J. McCarthy back, and it worked out pretty damn well for them against the Lions when they won one against the head.
Yeah, I talked about the 5-game stretch that the Ravens are about to go on, and I better back myself up now and back up what I've been preaching. This is a game that the Ravens have to get over, and it's a funny one because the Vikings are coming off their best win of the season. I mean, putting the Lions to the sword, it was such an impressive win, particularly by the defense. But you'd argue now that Justin McCarthy, or that McCarthy is going to be under the most pressure he's been on. The weight of expectation is going to grow, and coming off that win, in one sense it was a shot to nothing. Like, nobody expected him to get over the Lions last week, but now there's going to be a huge weight of expectation on the young quarterback's shoulders, and I think they're running into the Ravens at the wrong time. I think we were all hammering the Ravens for weeks about their defense that was absolutely abysmal, but since week 6 they've only given up 13 points a game. Their turnovers have improved. Their secondary has vastly improved. They've been getting healthy at the right time. We talked about Hamilton, all these other guys last week coming into form and coming back at the right time. And I do think this is the wrong time for the Vikings. I know they're going to get pressure on Lamar, but Lamar is not Jared Goff. I mean, he's got more ways to beat you, I think, than Jared Goff. And again, they held Gibbs and Montgomery last week, but when you've got Derrick Henry and you've got Lamar and you've got these tight ends and you've got these receivers, I know the Lions have plenty of weapons. They're not shy in weapons either. I just think Lamar is the difference maker here, and Henry is chewing up yards again, and he's getting he's getting back into the touchdown rhythm again. I think this is the wrong time for the Vikings to meet the Ravens. I think the Ravens continue their march towards the top of the AFC North, and they're going to be hunting down the Steelers this weekend.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I thought that it was the wrong time for the Vikings to play the Lions last week, to be fair, and that didn't turn out to be the case. But as Shane was saying in our review show last week after the fact, was that down to J.J. McCarthy being the superstar quarterback, or was that down to Brian Flores' defense absolutely bamboozling the Lions? And as you say,
I just realized there I called him Justin McCarthy. I was thinking of the old Cork hurling manager there for a second.
or the RTE presenter, could be either.
There we go.
Former colleague of mine, shout out to Justin. But to your point, or to Shane's point last week, Brian Flores and that Vikings team were all over Jared Goff, and made Jared Goff look like 2022 Jared Goff rather than 2025 Jared Goff, and that was a big factor in that game. I think there's a little bit of kind of lazy headline writing to the whole JJ McCarthy is the savior narrative. I mean, he threw for 143 yards, did what he had to do well, uncorked a couple of lovely throws, a beautiful pass to Jalen Naylor, probably one of the highlights among them, but he's thrown for 5.7 yards an attempt. Like, that's nowhere near good enough to get it done in the NFL on a consistent basis. Partly that, to be fair, is because the Vikings are protecting him, as they should be doing, and as they ease him into play. But you're not going to be eased into play against this Baltimore Ravens team, who, as you say, absolutely have to make every down count, because they're in double jeopardy for every single game now. They got to win, and they got to win 5 or 6 on the bounce to get back into things. Obviously, the way things are in the AFC North gives them a chance, because it's a division that is very unpredictable from week to week, and where it's still tightly bunched, and the Ravens don't have as much ground to make up as they might have had to do if the Steelers hadn't slipped up and lost 2 on the bounce. But they just, with Lamar back last week, looked so strong in every department. They have a terrible schedule to start the year and a bunch of injuries. Things are starting to sort themselves out, and I expect the Ravens to revert to the mean. They did that, or began to do that last week. Vikings is by no means an easy assignment for them, and M&T Bank Stadium is not the easiest place to go, but they're well tooled up to come out of there with a win, and I expect them to do so. Kieran Boyle.
Yeah, I like the Ravens in this one.
Brian.
I'll go against the Pale here. I think the Vikings get another big win this weekend.
Ooh, spicy. Right. Bills, 8.5-point favourites as they travel to Miami, where, Brian, it seems like the Dolphins haven't been good since the days of Ace Ventura at this point. I'm going to execute that one. Button hook pattern, super slow-mo. Dolphins seem to be playing in super slow-mo these days. Can they reverse that this weekend against the Bills?
Another one for the season ending clips by Mr. Conor Brophy. I'm surprised by the line for all the wrong reasons, or maybe the right reasons if you want to put your money with QuinnBet this weekend. We were looking at away from this game. Last weekend, the Panthers were 13.5-point underdogs going into Green Bay. This strikes me as the kind of line we should be looking at for this game, with all due respect to Dolphins and their fans. And the Bills are rolling, aren't they, really, after coming off a bye week? I mean, rolling in the sense of they have a crucial win last weekend against the Chiefs team. We saw what they did to the Panthers, and I think we're going to see something similar on Sunday. These played each other earlier in the season. It kind of went back to what we saw over the past few years. It didn't matter what the Dolphins' form was. They played tough against the Bills on the road, but there was a similar game last year, Thursday Night Football. The Dolphins hung around for a quick period of time, but I think on Sunday, use Cook. I keep getting frustrated. Connor, he's cooking, and they don't use him enough in that kitchen, because they can put games away with him without needing to really get into second gear. We saw it with the Carolina game. They relied on him. He had 2 touchdowns. Last weekend, yes, Josh Allen got the touchdowns, but they got away from what they should have done, was to kept cooking the game, and I think they're just going to run all over the Dolphins defense on Sunday, who are now short of hands anyway with injuries, and they've let Jalen Phillips walk out the door this week on trade deadline week. It strikes me already. They've also let go to GM. It strikes me they're already preparing for another year. Their eye won't be on this one. It's the Bills. Comprehensive victory for me. They're covering the 8.5.
Brian, you're bringing me down ahead of the fact that we've got to go and watch the Commanders play the Dolphins in Madrid on Sunday week. Well, at least we'll enjoy the Bernabeu.
In hindsight, I think we picked the wrong one, Connor. I think we should have went to Berlin.
Yeah, we should have gone for Berlin. We'll know better for next time, but I hope Shane and Ben enjoy themselves there nonetheless. Kieran O'Donovan, the Dolphins don't have Dan Marino or Ray Finkel anymore, and they need them against the Bills.
Yeah, the Bills, 16-2 versus the Dolphins. I can't see anything other than a big win here. This is your rocking chair. That's your phrase, Connor. Is the rocking chair game. James Cook was on the injury report in the middle of the week, but I think he put all doubt to bed today. I think he said he's going to play. It's he's fairly certain that he's going to play. So that might have let a little bit of hope in for Dolphins fans. But I think no, I think this is one step too far for the Dolphins, who's we've been harping on about their kind of tragic enough season for many different reasons. And the firing of the GM just puts their season in a little bit more turmoil. I think they'll be looking forward to next season, and the Bills are again in the hunt for that AFC East and in the hunt for that number 1 seed, and they're just going to keep marching. This is a game that it should be just an absolute a non-event.
Yeah, I agree. It's not so much James that's cooked; it's the Dolphins who are cooked. It's Bills for me all day long. Kieran Boyle.
Yeah, it's getting a little cold up in the northern area of New York this time of year. The fans like to go down to Collins Avenue, Miami. There is going to be a lot of sun and a lot of touchdowns for the Bills in Miami. So give me the Bills.
Yeah, Browns and Jets, with apologies to fans of both franchises. We're not going to spend too much time on. It's tough one to pick here for me. I'm gonna go Jets at home. Why not? Let the Jets have that second game in a row. Brian.
It's not a tough one for me, actually, Connor. I'm convinced the Jets will win on Sunday. In fact, I think the enormity of the week that's had with trading players away will actually galvanise the team even more. So I think they get their second win in the season.
Kieran,
you know where I'm going with this.
I'm going Browns, and I think the Browns defense is too good. Myles Garrett is too good. I'm going to take the Browns in this.
And Kieran Boyle, I know you would actually melt like the Wicked Witch of the West if you picked the Jets, so I presume you were going Browns.
Yeah, it's not happening this week. Browns, give me the Browns D. Quinshon Judkins, 180 on the ground, 12-9 to the Browns.
All right, we'll move on to Jags Texans in a minute. But first, just a reminder that you can join us on Thursday, the 27th. That's Thanksgiving Thursday in the Arlington Hotel for all who celebrate for our Thanksgiving watching party. 6:00 game, Packers at Lions, followed by Chiefs at Cowboys. Two great games for that Thanksgiving Thursday. Always a brilliant night out as well. And free admission on the night in the Arlington on Bachelor's Walk in Dublin. Very much looking forward to meeting as many people as possible there and to enjoying a little bit of turducken and some great football action. Meanwhile, in Houston this weekend, the Jags are favourites against the Texans, who are newly down CJ Stroud, of course, Kieran Boyle, which casts a bit of a pall over what Houston had been able to do in the last 2 weeks when they looked like they were getting back into contention.
Yeah, and it has robbed us of a good kind of matchup, him and Trevor Lawrence. I mean, this injury to Stroud just changes everything for this matchup. I mean, it would have been great if 3-7 or 3-5 Texans were going up against maybe a 4-4 Jags. That would have made it a really spicy encounter. But it's tough to pick the Texans in this one. I mean, they've struggled to score points all year. They've had injuries all over the place. That O-line is decimated. I mean, all I can see is Hines Allen just teeing up on that O-line, and Davis Mills is in for its hard time. I mean, if Stroud was out there, I'd be really nervous about him out there. But with Davis Mills, I mean, his mobility compared to Stroud it's not comparable. It's tough because I would have loved to see the Texans kind of fight back a little bit and put a charge into the AFC South, not make it so easy for the Colts. But I think after this is going to be the final nail in the Texans' coffin. With the Jags, though, I mean, nobody's feeling good. I wouldn't certainly feel good if I was a Jags fan. I mean, they're one tip or one block throw from being 4-4, and it's not lost on the faithful up in Duval County. I mean, it's still shaky ground for this Jags team. The defense that kept them in the hunt all the month of September is all but vanished. Their sack rate has gone way down. I know they picked up Jacoby Myers. They definitely need that help because they were without Thomas Jr. for parts of the game on Sunday, and they were without obviously Travis Hunter for an extended period of time. So they were just putting a bunch of practice squad guys out there hoping something would happen. And when you combine that with Trevor Lawrence's inaccuracy, it's not a great matchup. I mean, that game itself was ugly up until the last 10 minutes when they decided to score and decided to make it a contest. But I'd be real nervous if I was a Jags fan because this team is just it's stuttering right now. Lawrence has not shown any progress from last year, in my opinion. Kind of similar to Penix, the inaccuracy is still what kind of shines through. He's not really been helped by some of his receivers either. That's why they went out and got Myers, because De'Ami Brown, it was a decent pickup in the offseason, but he hasn't really done anything this year. I think the Myers pickup will be very beneficial to the Jags. I mean, I think he's going to fit straight in there on Sunday. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he went up for, 85, 90 yards, about 6 or 7 catches and a touchdown, because that's what this offense is capable of. Again, it's a shame that we're robbed of seeing Stroud in this game. I'm really concerned about this Texans O-line getting just roughhoused, because you know that the defense of the Jags is just they're just rubbing their hands and they can't wait till Sunday to the game, and they're just going to make it really difficult for that O-line. Saying that, it's not going to be a high scoring game. The Jags struggle to score. The Texans struggle to score. You got two defenses, and especially with we all know about Daniil Hunter and Jalen Petrie and all those guys. So I would expect a lowish scoring game, something in the high teens. Jags will probably just come out of it again in the end. I think it's the line was it 1.5? I'm not sure if it was 1.5, but
1.5. 1.5 to the Jags.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a field goal when all is said and done. But I still wouldn't feel comfortable if I'm a Jags fan because there's a lot of difficult games to come still. But saying that, they're way ahead of where they were last year, so there's that to be thankful for. And Cohen seems to have them playing kind of hardball right now. So difficult matchup for the Texans, but I got the Jags winning this one.
Yeah, this is the coulda, shoulda, woulda bowl for me, looking at both teams, actually. And if I'm a Texans fan, and Kieran Boyle, you used the phrase negligence about the way they didn't address their O-line, and they still don't seem to have made enough progress based on how Stroud has been harassed so far this year. It hasn't been as bad as last year, admittedly, but there's a good reason why he's injured, and it's because he's not getting the kind of protection that he needs up front to enable him to do what he should be able to do. Because this Texans team have a championship caliber defense. There's no two ways about it. And if the offense lined up in the way you would hope it would be able to do based on the weapons they have on paper, you could be looking at a serious contender, the contender that we expected to see last season, which didn't materialize, and which unfortunately it doesn't look like it's going to materialize this season either. The Jags, as you were saying, started the season well. We saw the Liam Cohen injection of creativity into that offense, which was so poor last year. Travis Etienne really strong in a couple of early games, but there is an issue in that receiver room, which is why they brought in Jacoby Myers. To your point, BTJ hasn't been comfortable with the role he's been asked to play in the offense, and he hasn't been comfortable with the way Trevor Lawrence, they just don't seem to have the connection that they had last season. And between the triangle of Lawrence, Cohen, and BTJ, it's just not working the way that it should do. I thought their early season defensive prowess was unsustainable, and so it's proved to be, because they were overly reliant on turnovers, which are such a volatile stat. They were never going to be able to come away with 2 or 3 takeaways per game, and that was slightly inflating their early season winning potential. And they've kind of settled into, as you say, an improved version of where they were last season, certainly, but probably not quite delivering at their potential yet. I do think they are more than capable of winning in Houston in the conditions as you've outlined them, with Davis Mills as quarterback and behind that shaky offensive line, and as such, I expect them to do so. Brian?
They're one game out of division. Not people aren't hiding them, including people on this show. And I don't think it's all doom and gloom for this Jags team. I've selected them on Sunday, and on the 7th of December, they play at home to the Jags, home to the Colts. And then in week 16, this week, they play against the Colts again. I mean, they've still got to play the team that's winning the division twice. There's a lot to play for. It's a Jags win for me.
Kieran O'Donovan?
I'm not as optimistic as Brian, but I did flip my pick just before we came on. I had completely forgotten about the CJ Stroud, Davis Mills factor, and I think that's enough to get the Jags over the line. 6 straight punts after Stroud went off last weekend. I don't think it gets much better for the Texans on offense. So, the Jags stutter to a win.
Just, we need to put a curfew on that spreadsheet. Like, you can't be
the banners are created. I think the curfew is shipped.
Yeah, once the banner is done, you're out. We'll allow it this week. But that's the last time now. Don't be trying that shit again. Okay, Patriots.
Jesus.
We can bleep that out in post-production. Patriots travel to the Bucs. This one of the games of the weekend, Brian, for me. And New England riding a 6-game winning streak now. Tampa Bay, as you said, dark horses for the Lombardi. Never mind to come out of the NFC South with the talent that they have, and with the way Baker Mayfield is playing in that offense, and with the difference makers they have on defense. They're 2.5-point favorites at home, but the Patriots will give them plenty of it, I expect.
22-1. For the Buccaneers to be lifting the Lombardi in Santa Clara this February with QuinnBet, Connor. And I still, for some reason, I have an appetite to take that on. I was looking at the defensive scheme that Todd Bowles has done. Like, he's a fantastic man of finding ways to get the quarterbacks. And I don't think Drake May would have come up against. Their defense probably isn't at the level in which you've seen previously at this Bucs team. I think on Sunday, it's a different beast. It's a different animal for Drake May in terms of what he's going to see. They're the 5th highest defense in terms of blitzing this season. He has 15 players that have a sack and a half each. Like, it's spread around the team, so they're going to be coming all guns blazing, coming off a bye week. Yeah, everyone loves the story. Well, most of us love the story that the Patriots are rebounding, and they're rebounding very well, and Shane's loving it. But he's not going to be loving it on Sunday night, because I think the Bucs.
Like, what's this wee business paleface? Most of us don't love this at all. Like, How
It's gonna
dare
be
they,
nice here.
after
It's gonna be
the
nice here, Connor.
dynastic years, come back so quickly? Like, some of us have been waiting 40 years for our team to come good. The Patriots, boo-hoo-hoo. There's 3 or 4 years where they're not contenders, and then they're bloody well straight back. I hate it.
Well, look, I don't care what anybody said. They've had a soft schedule this year, and fair play to them. They've capitalised on that opportunity. We said in our preseason piece, we said in our AFC East that they had a huge opportunity this year because of the nature of the teams they were going to play. But this is now, as you said earlier on, we're getting into serious football now. This is a huge test for them. So they have to come out the right side of it. Maybe we'll all have to kind of step back a little bit and say, okay, maybe they are for real in terms of being a team, not just making the playoffs this year, but a team that can go into the playoffs and do serious damage. I'm still not sold on that. I think most Patriots fans would acknowledge that if they got a season where they even made a wild card and lost, they'd all take that now. I think I wouldn't say it's a mismatch on Sunday. The Bucs are a highly talented team, and I think the Bucs will find a way to win on Sunday. And I think it predominantly will come down to their defense making big plays.
Kieran Donovan, I'm really looking forward to seeing one particular aspect of this matchup. Lots of aspects I'm looking forward to in general, but one specific aspect, Jamel Dean on that Bucs secondary, arguably the best defensive back in the NFL right now. He's allowing a passer rating to opposing quarterbacks targeting the receiver that he's marking up at in the mid-20s. 3 picks on the season. You just don't throw in his direction. And at the same time, you're thinking Drake May just can't resist getting that ball downfield with the way he's playing at the moment. I mean, he throws such a beautiful deep ball. Well, I wonder, will he be tempted to go in that direction, and how will it work out for him?
Yeah, but he has big booty to aim for as well, doesn't he? Like, it's funny. I'm going against Brian here in the Drake show versus the Bake show. I think it's Drake that comes out on top here, and for a couple of reasons. A lot of teams would be licking their chops off a bye. We'd be saying, okay, beware of this team. They've had time to rest up. Todd Bowles is 2-5 after a bye. So there doesn't seem to be that kick, or that doesn't seem to be the tradition in as far as he's concerned. As high as we've been on Baker Mayfield, and I've been really like I've been growing in my affection for him week on week. Sorry, Connor.
I wonder when you say that he's 2-5 after bye, is that Todd Bowles, or is that the lads are spending their bye week in Tampa? Like, it's not like they're in Green Bay where there's nothing to do.
Yeah, but I mean, regardless, that's the situation that they're in.
Come back like the lads in The Hangover, like absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know what the telling factor is, but you might be onto something there. But look, Mayfield's number, as good as he's been early on in the season, his numbers have cooled in the last couple of weeks. He hasn't been lights out, and the reason I think that the Patriots get this win is because of matchups. As you know, and Brian, I take your point that they've had a soft schedule, but they've still kept 2 of the most productive running backs to under 50 yards. And couple that with the fact that Bucky Irving is questionable, you're wondering what you're going to get from the Bucs on the ground. And then with Mike Evans out, you're looking at heaping a load of pressure on Ibuka and Tez Johnson. And when you've got Christian Gonzalez to show.
Can we say one thing here? Sorry, can we say one thing here? We keep saying Mike Evans is out. Mike Evans hasn't played this season.
I get that. But
we have to stop saying that. He's not part of the equation anymore. Right now,
I get that, but when Ibuka early on in the season was running the show, everyone was talking about when they get Mike Evans back. Mike Evans
fair
back.
enough.
He came back and he's gone again. So now you've got it's Ibuka. When we started in the preseason talking about Godwin and Evans, it's Ibuka and Johnson now. And that doesn't, as good as Ibuka has been, and Tez Johnson has had flashes. You've got Christian Gonzalez who may well just shut one of them down, and your options then for Baker become very, very limited. And I think Vrabel is going to have plenty schemed up to stop Baker's heroics as well. So I'm in terms of matchups, that's the reason why I think the Patriots keep rolling. I know they're 6-2, and I think if they do get this win, we're not going to be talking about a soft schedule anymore. I think this would be a massive win for the Patriots.
Kieran Boyle, I was going to ask you what your top 3 nightclubs in Ybor are, and I'm sure you could give us 3 right off the top of your head. But maybe let's save that for Irish NFL show after dark, and just ask you for your pick in the game instead.
I do like the Bucs in this one. I know the Patriots are cruising right now.
Look at the smile on his face at the mention of Ybor, by the way. Like he's suddenly gone out of the football zone.
Beautiful part of the world. We take in little Sarasota afterwards. Anyway, we get back to the game. I mean the Patriots. They've been cruising lately. I just think the Bucs at home, that defense. May has been susceptible to the deep pass and the deep pick a couple of times. He's got a little bit careless with the fumbles as well. So probably a fairly close game. Should be a high scoring game. Should be in the 20s, maybe even low 30s. But I like the Bucks at home.
Yeah, I am looking forward to this one, but I do trust the Bucks after a bye, notwithstanding your caveat, Kieran O'Donovan, about Todd Bowles' relatively poor record on a week's rest. I think that the line is just about right here. It is a field goal game, but I think it goes in the direction of Tampa Bay. Right, next up, we have Giants traveling to Soldier Field to play the Bears. Giants at 2-7, as you'd expect, 4.5 points underdogs on the road here. I look at this Bears team, and hands up, of course, as a Bears fan, I think this is one of the top 10 offenses in the NFL right now, maybe on their best day, top 5 offense with what they can produce. It's just so amazing what Ben Johnson has managed to do compared to where Shane Waldron was last season with an utterly predictable offense. You now have a thing of beauty at time to watch in the Bears, and you don't know what you're going to get. Maybe they're silk panties. Maybe it's a thong. Maybe it's something really cool that I don't even know about. Wait, what? I thought we were in the trust tree. Anyway, but the defense, on the other hand, is arguably one of the worst in the NFL. It's bottom 3 in a lot of key statistical categories, being papered over, as I've said a couple of times, by opportunistic takeaways. Like the Bears lead the league in turnovers, and the Bears lead the league in turnover differential, and that has kept them afloat in a couple of games. As I said when we were discussing the Bengals game last week, a scenario in which the Bears concede 42 points but somehow manage to be able to be capable of dropping 47 is not where Chicago has been really ever in my fandom, where they're an offense-led team. They finally leaped into the 21st century. But Joe Flacco and the Bengals offense put up 470 yards on them. We know what Jackson Dart can do with a tailwind behind him. If he's looking at a secondary that is at times as porous as the Bears secondary is, and you expect the Giants to score points in this one. But if I have 2 good reasons to pick the Bears to win this, they're T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. As in, I don't see either of them wearing Giants uniforms. I don't know who Jackson Dart's going to throw the ball to, if he's going to try and do a Joe Flacco this weekend. And I don't see the Giants being able to score enough to put the Bears away. I do think that they will get joy against an up and down Bears defense, but I trust the Bears offense more, and I trust them to come out with the win. Kieran Boyle.
Yeah, I mean, Bears they've scored at least 24 points in 6 of the 9 games. They're averaging 747 combined yards per game. Like you said, they're doing great offensively, and they're making the turnovers happen too. So you got to be happy if you're a Bears fan. The thing with Caleb, I mean, I think we're all in agreement that he's still the inconsistency is still worrying us and still causing a lot of concerns. Quite similar to Penix, and that inaccuracy, short throws, getting harried out of the pocket, and just abandoning the plan. Ordinarily, I would what you said about the Bears, I wouldn't be arguing with any of it. I think they're in a really good spot right now. I mean, what's gone on the last even month compared to the last number of years is great, but this Giants team gives me no hope at all. You said Watkin Jackson. I mean, you said the Giants will score points. I'm not even sure if they'll do that, because all the offense has is Jackson Dart. I mean, he's averaging 22.3 points per game. I mean, this can't be just him alone. And the issue is we all know the injuries, but the other issue is that the people that he has to throw to are not making any plays. I mean, Theo Johnson has got bricks for hands. He can't be trusted to make any plays. Slayton, same thing. There's drops everywhere. The O-line, which had been holding up the last couple of weeks, is starting to show cracks now. So I wouldn't be nervous at all. I mean, if I was Caleb Williams, any other team, I'd be nervous about the pressure and people going up against them. But this is the Giants right now. Not even the defense can do anything. I wouldn't expect much of a contest at all. I mean, it's in Chicago. It's going to be cold. It's probably going to be a lot of the run game. I mean, they're going to be a lot of Monangai and Swift. I think that's going to be pretty much the bread and butter for the Bears.
We don't call him Monangai in Chicago anymore. He's Monang Dude.
Yeah. I mean, the Giants have allowed 30 or more points in 4 straight games. There's nothing to suggest that they're going to be able to stop that with the offense that the Bears have shown. There's no redeeming features at all for this team. I mean, there really isn't. I mean, we're hearing just before the show, we're hearing kind of unconfirmed stories that the Giants were all set to fire Dable after the Denver game, but were talked out of it by senior management. That's still uncorroborated, and we still can't trust that source. But It wouldn't surprise me at all. Bowen is not managed this defense at all. The defense can't even get to the quarterback right now. So it's another year of 2-7 for Giants fans with little to look forward to. I really can't see any kind of redeeming features about this game. My only concern is that they don't overuse Dart in the last 8 games, and he somehow managed to get hurt as well, because that would just ruin everything. I love his attitude. I love his poise. I love everything about him, but I just don't want him to do too much with too little. And similar to the Daniels, to what happened to Daniels on Monday night, if the score does go up, which it very may well do in the third quarter, fourth quarter, that they make the mistake of leaving him in there and just kind of leave him out to dry. So I'm hoping the Giants saw what happened to Daniels and would pull the ejector cord if that's the case. But I don't know what Brian how he feels about it, but I can't get excited about this team. I can't get enthusiastic or kind of optimistic in any realm, anywhere on the field. Secondary down to kicker. Don't even get me started on kicker. We could be here the next 10 minutes. So real pessimistic. I think this is going to turn out easy for the Bears. It's going to be a 10-point win at the very least.
If you or any Giants fan close to you is affected by any of the issues we've discussed on the podcast, you can call the Irish NFL Show helpline. SOS Giants.
Just don't call airlines.
Brian.
Kieran asked what my opinion was. Just take Kieran's clip, put my head on it, and there you go. It's a Bears victory on Sunday. Absolutely no concerns whatsoever if I was a Bears fan.
Kieran O'Donovan, there are always concerns if you're a Bears fan. Get out of here. Kieran O'Donovan.
I'll take the Bears as well, and I appreciate your old school Will Ferrell reference as well. If the lads didn't get it, if the lads missed it, I got it.
Well, I got it.
I can always rely. I can always rely on you. You're my boy. My boy.
Will Ferrell. Oh, that's the guy that plays for the Niners.
Yeah.
No?
The kicker.
Right, Saints Panthers is another quick pick. I'm going Panthers in this one. Kieran Boyle.
Give me the Panteras.
Kieran O'Donovan.
First time they've been favoured this year, I believe. Panthers.
Yeah, and they're 5.5-point favourites indeed. Brian.
Saints lose again. Panthers.
All right, into the 9:00 window we go, and we start with the 12s in Seattle at Lumen Field. The Cardinals in town. Seahawks newly emboldened by the presence of Rashid Shaheed. They felt the need for Shaheed, Kieran O'Donovan, adding a little bit more speed to their already quite stacked wide receiver room, and they'll be very excited about the future. They're 6.5-point favourites in this one.
Yeah, and I got my weekly dose of schooling from Jordan Rodrigue there when she broke this down, and the impact that Rashid Shaheed could have on this offense that has been arguably one of the best offenses, if not the best offense in the NFL.
She made a very good point if you were listening to the same podcast that I was, by the sounds of it, where I hadn't even thought about this. It's not just what he does in the passing game. It's the impact that having him has on what it enables them to do in the run game, because it just gives you so much more field to defend and allows them more joy with Walker and Charbonnet up front. I really like that point.
That's exactly it. He brings that vertical threat and offers them more to do with JSN. They can move JSN inside in the slot, and it just adds another layer to that offense, and exactly gets that run game going. So I mean that's really it. I mean they're the form team in the NFL. I know we've been talking about. I know things can change very quickly. We were talking about the Chiefs up until last week for a few weeks, saying there was no one near them. But this is the team to watch at the moment. That being said, this is a divisional game. The Cardinals tend to play them close. You get weird, you get weird things happen in divisional games, and the Cardinals played them to 3 points. I think they now have a better quarterback than they did at the start of the season. In Jacoby Brissett, I think he's played much more solid than Kyler Murray with this, this phantom injury, or well, maybe it's not a phantom injury. I'm sure he is injured, but it seems convenient to me that Kyler Murray is now on IR. It seems an easy option. And it remains to be seen whether we see Kyler Murray playing for the Cardinals again. It could be an absolute blowout, or it could be a close game. It could be a one-score game because of the nature of the division. But I can't see the Cardinals getting over the line here. I think the Seahawks march on.
Kieran Boyle, your Kyler Murray, not a leader of men line seems to have been taken on board by Arizona, who roll again with Brissett, and they can do things with him in the lineup. You don't underestimate this team, and 6.5 points may be flattering to the Seahawks if the Cardinals show up with their A game, which they don't always do.
Yeah, this. I mean, listen, they played great against the Cowboys. It was just what they needed. Brissett has given them all a boost. He's changed the dynamic around probably the locker room too, because I don't rate Kyler Murray as, guess what, a leader of men, and it's no surprise to me that he's out. I think they've regretted that contract ever since they signed it. I really do. I think they're itching to get out of it and eat whatever money they have to, but. You got to be impressed with what Brissett has done. He's brought everyone into the game again. McBride's catches are going up, and of course Marvin Harrison Jr., whose dad has said he couldn't even watch the games because it was so difficult to watch. And it's got to be difficult for somebody like a legend like Marvin Harrison, who's watching his son fourth pick in the draft, who's an absolute monster, who's not getting the ball's not getting thrown to him in any kind of consistency or regularity. So he's brought everybody into the fold, putting up points. 3 straight games with multiple touchdowns. You can't argue with that. And they've converted a league high 56% of third downs with him there, which is that's no mean feat at all. However, the fact that they have to go to Seattle, the weather around the country, apart from down here, is getting real cold, and you can guarantee it's going to be cold and windy up in Seattle Sunday. So that's going to be a tough ask for the Cardinals fans and even Cardinals players to go into that, because they're used to that State Farm Stadium. But I've talked a lot about the Bucs being a Super Bowl favorite. I really, really like this Seahawks team. I mean, there's nothing not to like. Darnold, it's amazing how he's gone from the Vikings and put them in a position to do a huge amount of work in the playoffs, and now he's doing the same with the Seahawks, not skipping a beat. We had a couple of question marks the first couple of games, but again, you gotta remember that September football is almost like preseason football right now. But I mean, he was 14 of 14, 16 for 16 to start the game with 4 touchdowns. They're killing everybody in the first half. I mean, they're outscoring their opponents by 72 points in the first half alone, and they're putting these games to bed as a contest by the third quarter. So that's just a testimony to the skill players around them too. And obviously, we know what Smith and Jigba's been doing. I really love Seattle, not just the offense but the defense too. Byron Murphy, Leonard Williams. Kobe Bryant, just stacked on defense too. I mean, they're as ready as the Bucs are for the Super Bowl. I wonder what the price is for them. But I think this is going to be a game too far for Arizona. I like that the feel good factor is back there, and that Brissett has been great, and he's been a kind of a magnet or a unifying force, and getting players back involved. But this is going to be a game too far. Seattle is a different component or a different beast to the Cowboys, and I don't think it's really going to be that competitive at all by the third quarter. Just too much for Seattle on offense, and the defense obviously too. So obviously give me the Seahawks in this one.
Yeah, testify. I couldn't agree with you more on the Seahawks. I like what they've done at every level. Love the coaching. Love what McDonald has done. Love what Kubiak has done on that offense. Of course, reunited with Rashid Shaheed as well. Front office making great decisions. Who they've shipped out, who they brought in, the way they deployed their draft capital, and I think they just continue what they've been doing. The good work this weekend goes on, and they will beat Arizona in my view. Brian.
Yeah, I totally agree, guys. I have Seattle winning this comfortably enough on Sunday. Yep.
We will take a quick timeout.
You know great odds, you're in control, you always bet responsibly, and you're not afraid to choose alternatives. That's why you bet with QuinnBet. Build your own unique football bets with Create a Bet. Winning team, first goal scorer, number of goals, the possibilities are endless. And with a 4-star Trustpilot customer service rating, why not give QuinnBet a shot? QuinnBet, we bet you love it.
Commanders newly shorn, unfortunately, of Jaden Daniels with that gruesome looking dislocated elbow that he suffered last weekend. Welcome the Lions to town, and it doesn't get any easier for them, Brian.
No, and it's not just about the Daniels injuries taking up all the, I suppose, all the storylines throughout the course of the week. When we were recording on Monday evening, we just come off the back of Dan Quinn talking about the fact that he acknowledges and he owned it, as they say, the fact that he should have got him out of the game. We've referred to that this evening in terms of his similarities was to happen with Jackson there. But it's not just about that. Like Lattimore, the cornerback, who hasn't had the best of times since he went there. We saw how disgruntled he was in that championship game last year. He was taken apart. He hasn't had the best of seasons, and he's gone for the season. They've lost. They lost two. We did McCaffrey the younger McCaffrey of the family, he's also gone for season.
Luke, yeah.
Yeah. So you touched on it there earlier, Conor, about the fact that we're going to Madrid next week and we're going to see two teams that are essentially banged up, missing a lot of players, not having the best of the season. I think this is kind of the final nail in the coffin for the Commanders this weekend. I didn't think they'd make the playoffs this year. I didn't think they'd fall off the cliff. I think there's a lot of unfortunate factors as to why they're having such a difficult season. I mean, they can't get players on the field. Jaden Daniels in and out all throughout the course of the season. Mariota in a quarterback. McLaurin is a marquee wide receiver, you could say. They even going into the season, there was disgruntlement over the contract. He hasn't played very much. It's very difficult when you can't get their best players on the field consistently over the course of the season. The Lions, for me, are going to be ruining that loss last weekend. And this is we're looking for a get back game or get back on track game. This very much as it is for me. I think the line is 8 points with QuinnBet. Conor, this is your rocking chair game of the weekend for me. I think the Lions are going to blow them out.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. You were taking the words right out of my mouth. I had get right game just on the tip of my tongue, and this is what that looks like all over for me. The Lions they're not executing at the level they did last season, and they're not really, bar the occasional performance here and there this season where you would have thought they would be based on the talent that they have at their disposal. But I still do trust them over the course of a season, and I certainly trust them in this spot. I think they'll be eager to atone for what happened last weekend, and I think if you look at the joy that Brian Flores' defense had against Jared Goff and how they were able to scramble the line circuits a little bit, they still only just about emerged on the right side of that. I mean, the Lions have so much talent, and when they get it right, they are an absolute juggernaut. We've seen them at times. The Ravens game this season, probably the outstanding example of it. When everything clicks, they're as formidable as any team in the NFL. They'll be coming in here hurt. They'll be coming in here annoyed. The NFC North is incredibly tight, and you can't afford to slip up, and you got to take advantage of games like this, and I think they will do just that. Kieran O'Donovan.
Yeah, Kieran mentioned what the Seahawks were able to do in the first half against the Commanders last week. The Lions are going to tear them limb from limb.
Kieran Boyle.
Give me Detroit, Rock City.
All right, very good. We motor on for the Motor City across to Santa Clara, where the 49ers take on the Rams. Looking to do the double over the Rams, having beaten them in Thursday Night Football just a few weeks ago. Niners still very banged up. Rams at times looking like a juggernaut and at times looking very pedestrian, Kieran Boyle. But this is one of those mouth-watering divisional clashes. There's never much in it. At one stage, Sean McVay owned Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan delighted to wipe Sean McVay's eye last time out, which obviously gives the Rams a lot of motivation going across to Santa Clara.
Yeah, and first off, you have to really credit the Niners for keeping in the division like this. I mean, they've just been battered from pillar to post, and I mean to be at 6-3. I know they beat up the Giants last time, but to be at 6-3. With everything that's been going on there, that's a testament to, and not even having Purdy. By the way, I'm not even sure if he's going to be fit for Sunday. Getting different views from different people, but just wanted to say that I think it's been a testament to the coaching staff and what they've been able to get out of that team, because essentially the Niners is Christian McCaffrey right now. I mean, Mac Jones is not doing anything special with the ball except making sure that he doesn't fumble it. McCaffrey's got 596 rushing and 626 receiving yards. That's an incredible return for the first, 9 games of the season. So I give them that. However, they're going up against a team that is, in my opinion, up there with the Seahawks in regards to, I don't want to say a complete team, but very well might be very, very soon. I mean, it's not that long ago that the NFL world was full of the Matt Stafford back talk, and that stuff has not been existent at all. I worry if it's going to pop up again, because I can tell you firsthand that backs can just flare up at a drop of a hat. But right now, it's not affecting his play. I mean, he's been excellent over at least the past 5 games. I mean, they beat up on the Ravens, the Jags, and just destroyed things last week. He leads the league in passing touchdowns with 21. They've won 3 straight. Everything's pointing upwards for the Rams at the right time. I mean, they usually get like this the last couple of seasons. They usually start putting the foot down and start moving from the middle lane into the fast lane, and just getting everybody involved. Even Devonta Adams has probably had a bigger role than he might have thought he had this year. But I mean, for me, it's the real story. We all know the defensive. I mean, we all know the offensive players. We all know that the flair and the skill players. But I mean, the Rams, the run D alone has only allowed 97 yards per game on the ground. That is an absolutely phenomenal statistic. And I mean, you got absolute monsters like Poona Ford up there, Fisk. You got Kitchens in the secondary. Byron Young. It's just loaded with talent, and that's, I mean, we talked about the Seahawks. Well, I talked about the Seahawks being Super Bowl contenders. The Rams right now they're really catching the stride, and I think the Niners are going to be on the other end of a fairly brisk performance from the Rams. I think they're going to kind of flex the muscles a little bit. I know the game's in Santa Clara, but it's a divisional game, and I think this is one of those Sean McVay. Let me go into my bag of tricks and just bamboozle everybody and pull some wild plays on offense. But like I said, everyone knows about the offense, but for me, the real story is the D and what they're able to do and shut these teams down. And I think for all that the Niners have been able to do thus far, yeah, it's great beating up on teams like the Giants, but now you're going up against a true, a blue chip. And, if they manage to shut down Christian McCaffrey in any way, I mean, that's pretty much it for the Niners. So, again, I like it to be a competitive game. I think the Niners are going to give as good as they get. They'll keep it interesting. They'll keep it competitive. But when all is said and done, it's probably going to be, a 6-point, 7-point win for the Rams. I can't say enough about the defense. I loved them last year. I love Roseboom. He's moved on. But now just, Fisk, we all know about him, and Jared Verse, Cam Curl. I mean, the names are they're everywhere. It's almost like an all-star team on defense. I really like the Rams, and I love them in this game.
Brian, as Kieran Boyd is saying, the Rams, and they have that Super Bowl DNA, of course, and you see this with the Eagles, and you see it with the Chiefs as well. They play the season. They don't play week to week. We've seen them in the past drop 3 or 4 games, and it doesn't derail them in any way. Something that would send a lesser team into a spiral they can cope with, because they can play the medium and the longer term, and they know where they're going. The Niners, on the other hand, have coped manfully with an injury list that would have sunk a lesser team and a lesser coaching staff. They've hung in there, they've hung in the clinches, and they got themselves to 6-3. So they're not going to be looking at this as an insurmountable task by any means. And Boyd, with the confidence they have from having beaten the Rams last time out.
True, but I actually took time out to watch the rerun of that game, the highlights of that particular game. There's so many, there were so many mistakes by the Rams in that particular game, and it was off-putting because we're not used to seeing those level of mistakes. Their special teams hasn't been great over the course of the season. Even last week, there was difficulty. In that game itself, they missed an extra point, they missed a field goal, they fumbled in the red zone. They had the ball at the end of the game in overtime, an opportunity to win it. They just had so many different teams go against them that night. And yeah, I remember at the time nobody gave the Niners an opportunity, and everyone was reflecting the next day that we should have been a bit more prudent to the fact it's a huge divisional game and the 49ers would always play it tough. And yeah, I acknowledge the 49ers, like we tongue in cheek with the Irish faithful about how we might not select them over the course of the season. We're not selecting them consistently because I think inevitably we all feel when they come up against a team, when you're talking about a Rams team, who when we did our season preview, we were all very high. And I don't think necessarily anyone went for them to go to the Super Bowl, but we all felt coming off last season where you could argue they were the best team in the playoffs with the exception of the eventual winners. Why can't they go all the way this year? And we're kind of seeing now gradually they're getting to that stage now where they acknowledge they didn't win a game in November that year. They won the Super Bowl, Conor. You know what it's about. It's about getting into the right stage of the season. They were playing reasonably well at that time. They're playing really well now. I think it's too much of an ask, despite the fact it's in Santa Clara. They'll look at this as we're going to be in Santa Clara in February, but we're going to put a marker down on Sunday within the division. Conscious of the fact there's another divisional game going on, as we just touched on, which we're all expecting the Seahawks to win. They got to win this. It's a big one for both. Bearing in mind, we all think Seattle will find a way to win against the Cardinals. I'm going Rams as well. I think the injuries do catch up on Sunday. They're the most complete team. They're going to come up against them sometime. Adams is starting to like they're getting into one thing that's really interesting now. Last season, when they were scoring touchdowns in the red zone, it was continuously Williams. They obviously have a two-headed monster now. But when they're in the red zone, they're going to Adams time and time again on these touchdowns. I think we see something similar on Sunday. It's the Rams for me.
Yeah, the Niners, to their immense credit, have burned me more than once in the picks competition this season. I've underestimated them to my cost, but I do think I've confident enough in Rams on the road. Kieran Donovan.
Yeah, they burnt me when I've picked them, and then they burnt me when I've gone against them. So it doesn't seem to matter what way I pick, but I'm going with the Rams as well. I agree with everything Kieran and Brian have said. Yeah.
Right, in Sunday Night Football, a really spicy clash where the Steelers go to SoFi to play the Chargers, and I'm sure it will bring a huge contingent to the stadium. They'll be going there happy based on what they were able to do last week against the NFL best Colts team so far this season. We were talking earlier on, Kieran Boyle was going into detail on what the Colts offense had put on them by the Steelers last weekend, and I do fear for the Chargers and that banged up O-line, and I fear for Justin Herbert a little bit in this one. He's already under quite a lot of pressure. I think he took 5 sacks last weekend, and they've struggled to keep him clean. Joe Alt is the latest one to go down there. You look at the Steelers pinning their ears back last weekend, and you look at what they were able to do to Daniel Ford, and you look at how Mike Tomlin changed things around. He's back in his bag, and we'll see whether they can continue that against the Chargers. You would expect that the Chargers are going to be able to move the ball regardless of how well the Steelers performed last weekend, because the Chargers have been consistently one of the better offensive teams in the NFL so far this season. But I do think, all things considered, with that strong Steelers traveling contingent that you always get going to SoFi, they'll go there with a huge amount of confidence. In other circumstances, I would have the Chargers to hold form, hold serve at home here. It's just those injuries give me a lot of concerns. I'm not sure that they're going to be in the right frame of mind and with the right personnel on the field to hold back that Steelers pass rush. And I think that's going to be the dominant factor this weekend. I expect the Steelers to overcome the odds here and beat the home favoured Chargers on the road. Kieran O'Donovan.
Yeah, like I want to agree with everything that you're saying, and I do agree to a certain extent. Just to add to the stats you've thrown out. Herbert has been sacked 28 times. It's the third most in the league, and he's taken 80 QB hits, which is most in the league. But he's still played at a very high level and quite consistently. I feel like I'm leading with the heart as opposed to the head. It's almost like the Chargers are. I've been waving the Chargers flag all season since the preseason, and it's like I want to be right so much. I feel like I'm being stubborn here in picking the Chargers. I think it's head versus heart. And I am going to pick the Chargers now. There's every chance I could be wrong because Joe Alton is a huge loss. Slater, we've talked about. They've added Trevor Penning to the O line. Whether that makes a huge difference or not, I'm not too sure. Kamani Vidal has been a surprising asset to them, not just in the run game, but in the pass game and the pass protection game. So he's been an outlet for Justin Herbert, who's going to have to get the ball out really quickly at times. Just to slow down that pass rush that they seem to be coming up against at the wrong time, because we were up until last week, we were being extremely hard on the Steelers pass rush and the Steelers soft defense, and now all of a sudden we're saying they're an absolute unit again. So what's it going to be? The lads
I'm gonna drop that great Mike Tomlin quote from the press conference again. There's a fine line between crushing grapes and drinking wine. They're drinking wine right now.
Yeah, but as Brian rightly called out, and the guys in Check the Mic, as I alluded to last week, they said that all the signs are pointing to a Steelers loss, but for some reason they're going to get the win. You could argue that the flip, the reverse of that is just as likely to happen to the Steelers here as well. And look, when it comes down to it, you saw what the Steelers were able to do in pushing the secondary up and negating the threat of Tyler Warren last week. And we've been talking about Aranda Gadsden for the Chargers and what he's been turned out to be for them. He's been a serious weapon for them as well. But I like the Chargers receiving core better than the Colts receiving core in McConkey, Johnston, and Allen. I think the Steelers have more to worry about behind Gadsden than they had to worry about with the Colts. As good as the receivers had been for the Colts, and I suppose I'm picking holes. I'm trying to find reasons, but for those reasons, I think I give the Chargers hope, and I'm going to give the Chargers the narrow edge in this one.
Kieran Boyle.
Well, to quote the great Ashley Schaefer from Eastbound and Down, you can feel the tension, and I can see. I know that.
Keep that quote going.
You feel it in your plums.
I can feel it in my plums.
Blue hue to him.
And like we've talked about with the O line, TJ Watt is going to be. He's looking at his watch right now, waiting for Sunday or for Monday. Sunday night. I'm sorry, and he's just waiting to dial that up. I'm very concerned about that Chargers O line. And when you think about it, Steelers got grit, they got determination. The Chargers haven't really shown that yet, and we're in the business end of the season now. So I'm going to take the Steelers. Brian?
I'll give you a quickie one for you, Connor. Joe Alt, who got injured last weekend, is a former guest of the show. You interviewed him, really good interview in advance of being selected by the Chargers. Trevor Penning, who's going to replace him, also a former guest of the show, who we interviewed a couple of years ago. When I say we, not you, me. It's a Steelers victory for me. I'm with you, Connor. I think there's two. It's a comfortable type of game. Great atmosphere, full of Steelers fans. It's a Steelers victory for me.
Rodgers' first game in SoFi as well. today.
Interesting. Did not realise he hadn't played there before. Right, Monday Night Football sees the Eagles play the Packers at Lambeau Field, previous home of Aaron Rodgers, of course. Kieran Boyle, this could be a preview of the NFC Championship game, dare I say it.
It could be, and if we remember where the genesis of the band of Tush Push started, it was Mark Murphy, CEO of the Packers, who kind of put the seed in everybody's planted that seed, and now it's turned into whatever this is now, and what we'll go with another week of probably Tush Push nonsense. But there's definitely going to be some spice to this game. I mean, the Eagles right now, I mean, I'm going to start with them. You know, similar to the Chiefs, they start off a little slow, and people are like, is this the end? Is this, are they going to struggle this year? But obviously that's not the case. I mean, everywhere you look, when they've been deficient, they've picked up in other parts. Jalen Hurts he's thrown 280 plus yards in 3 of the last 4 games, and he's got 15 touchdowns and 1 interception all season. So if the passing game is not on, he's just taking it with him. He's tucking the ball and he's running. He can air it out. And when the game struggles, he can air it out to Devonta Smith and AJ Brown and find those guys. And if that's not an option, he's got number 26. He can just hand the ball off to. And I mean, Saquon at 150 plus yards in week 8. So the Eagles are, I mean, we talk about teams just starting to get into the groove in November. The Eagles are certainly that. They're going to be rested off of that bye. Saquon, whatever niggling groin injury or whatever nagging injury it was, is probably going to be healed. AJ Brown was a little banged up. He's probably going to be fine too. So the Eagles they're rested. They're coming off a bye week. And now, like nobody else needed it. We got Howie Roseman pulling out more trades and Jalen Phillips, Jair Alexander. So they're even more strong, even more kind of strengthened than they were in week 8. So, I mean, they're going into Lambeau. I'll tell you, there is a real cold snap coming across the country, and this is going to be the first real kind of winter game. There could be some snow over the weekend up in Green Bay, so that might affect the passing game. But I mean, you got two running backs like Jacobs and Saquon. I don't think points are going to be off the board for too long. But the Packers, I mean, what can you say? I mean, that game last week was just bizarre. I mean, it was just typified by that run from Jordan Love, where he probably ran about 90 yards across the field, back around and threw the ball across his body and was almost picked off in the end zone. That's kind of a snapshot of what the game was. Losing Tucker Kraft is huge. I mean, with him on the field, they're gaining more yards, and they're definitely going to have a negative impact from that. There's injuries with Jaden Reed. I think he's on the IR. Jalen Reed, Golden has got some injury questions, so you're going to have to rely on Josh Jacobs for worse or better. I mean, Dobbs is a nice outlet, and so is Watson, but he's coming back from an injury, so it's probably going to be a lot of Josh Jacobs on the ground. Add in the fact that the weather's going to be in the 30s by the time kickoff comes around. I want to like the Packers and Jordan Love. I just, similar to last season when he flattered in the postseason in 23. We're just waiting for that kind of string of consistent games where we can say, yep, he's that guy. Last week, maybe it was an anomaly, but you can't have an anomaly like that when you've got the Eagles next on the schedule, especially coming off a bye. Eagles with their strength, fortified everywhere where they need to be. Their quarterback is managing everything great. Seems like there's more harmony. Patullo is got a better handle of the offensive scheme now too. So everything's trending for the Eagles right now, trending upwards. Notwithstanding the loss of the game, losing Tucker Kraft is a huge blow too. So again, I can see the Pack at home, staying in it and being competitive. But I mean, this is one of those kind of like a Chiefs game that we've seen the last couple of years where they'll pull it out in the end. I want to see the Packers win, and I want to see a situation where they're competitive enough to win the game. I just don't think they'll be competitive enough to win the game. I think they'll be very competitive, but all I can see is an Eagles win for this. I think everything's pointing towards Philly.
Kieran, as I said, by no means fanciful to think that this could be the NFC Championship game. So this one is doubly important. Neither team can afford to fall behind in the division, first of all, to make sure that their playoff hopes are where they need them to be. But you could be looking at this one as the decider in the head-to-head as regards who gets the number 1 seed. Like, the stakes are really, really high here. Yeah,
and I'm not as high on that possibility as you guys. I think that the Packers have fallen down the pecking order in the last couple of weeks. And look, every statistical analysis you do of this game, I think, points to an Eagles win. like the Packers' run defense has started to give up, has started to leak. I mean, they're giving up 5 points or 5 yards a clip at the moment, and that points to a scary prospect in terms of a Saquon, a big Saquon game. The receivers have been banged up. Watson wasn't able to stay on the field for the whole game last week. There was periods of that game where the receiving core was a bunch of no-name receivers. Essentially, you've got the tight end. The best tight end in football is out for the season. So there's a lot to be down on the Packers for, but at the same time, again, maybe it's heart versus head, but when you ignore the statistics and look at a couple of facts, the Packers have put me on the wrong foot on every week, because they seem to be playing up and playing down, according to the opposition. In week 1, they absolutely blew out the Lions, even though we didn't expect that, and then they've just played down to the lesser teams. They've surprised us on both fronts. From in terms of the pass rush and Micah Parsons, they're coming off the back of their worst week, and they've been excellent all season. So hopefully we get a bounce back from them from a Packers perspective. And I was talking about how I was frustrated with Matt LaFleur's play calling and the kind of stubbornness to persist with the run and the screen pass game and everything like that. And Josh Jacobs was outstanding last year, but he's been serviceable at best, I think, this season. I was actually delighted to hear Greg Rosenthal today talk about how the Packers could end up flipping the Tucker Kraft loss because he's been such a good extension of the run game. And Luke Musgrave is predominantly he's a receiving tight end, and he was brought in as an exciting receiving tight end. How this might actually force Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love in the offense to just hurry up, because they've been too slow. They've been too laborsome in going down the field. This might, force Matt LaFleur to give Love. And I know you talk about a run-heavy offense this week for the Packers. I'm hopeful that it'll actually be the opposite, that they'll come out slinging the ball. Look, maybe that'll lead to some silly Jordan Love turnovers, or maybe it'll lead to the most exciting offensive game this week. I'm giving the edge to the Packers, home field, 1.5 point favorites. I'm just... Again, it's hope more than expectation, but they need that game. They need a game. They're just going to continue to slip if they let these games let these games away. And we've talked about this. This division is going to be so tight. This NFC North is going to be so tight. Every win is absolutely that they can get is absolutely vital. So I'm going to go with the heart over the head this time and pick the Packers.
I'm forming the view of the Packers that they're big game hunters, and I think what we've seen with those 2 poor defeats and with the tie in Dallas is a team that plays down to the level of poor opponents but plays up to the level of good opponents. I think the Packers obviously see themselves as a Super Bowl team, and they double stamped that by the move that they made to bring in Micah Parsons. They are all in, and they're right to be all in, and that was a move that arguably puts them over the top in terms of the talent that they have at their disposal to go out and complete that job. Yeah, I know they'll ultimately go only as far as Jordan Love allows them to, and if you get the best Jordan Love, the one with the Aaron Rodgers angel on his shoulder rather than the one with the Brett Favre throw pick devil on his shoulder, there's no reason to think that they won't win the Lombardi, and hopefully Tucker Kraft won't be there to put the Super Bowl ring on his finger to advance his claim, as you say, as on being the best tight end in football. But they've plenty of other bodies to fill those jerseys, including Luke Musgrave, as you said. They remind me in a weird way of one of those championship caliber basketball teams. Like, you'll see the Golden State Warriors drop a couple of games, and they don't have to win every game to get to where they need to be, and then they come alive in the postseason. I know you can ill afford to do that at the best of times in the NFL, because it is only a 17 game regular season and every game counts. But I think those Browns and Panthers losses we'll see towards the end of the year in the rearview mirror as aberrations and blips on what should otherwise be a very intriguing journey this season, and one that I think will go deep into the postseason for the Packers. In order to prove me right, of course, they have to hold serve at home as 1.5 point favorites and beat the Eagles. It's a pick'em game, really. But if the Packers are who they think they are, I think they will win at home in Lambeau. Brian?
My selections haven't been very good this season, Conor, so bear with me, but I have everybody in the NFC North winning this weekend, with the exception of the Packers. I will go with the Eagles to win on Sunday, or Monday, beg your pardon.
All right, best of luck to Ben and Shane on their travels to Deutschland. We're looking forward to seeing the Colts and Falcons this weekend. The half-2 game on Sunday. We're back with an international game. We didn't have one last weekend, but we start again early on Sunday. We'll be there with you. Of course, stay tuned for a preview of that game, extended preview of that game coming on Saturday.